Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Go ahead and let us know if you can hear us and see the screen. We will get started in a couple minutes here. I'm actually still trading right now. I'm still trading some spy calls here, Jesus.
Oh, you didn't get out of them
I
before
got
you
out of a bunch of them. I had 150. I just got out of most of them, so I got a 30 lot left.
you put
But
them on late too, right?
yeah, put them on super late as soon as we squeeze at the end of the day right there. Let's see. Let's see. What's going on, Young? What's going on? How's everybody doing? Pretty great day here for the day traders. So shout out to all the day traders here. If you guys are, able to move here, catch the momentum. There was some really, really, really nice moves out here today. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Welcome, welcome.
Let me mute this thing.
All right. All right. When do we get cracking here? Let's see. What's going on, everybody? Our Tuesday aftermarket here webinars with Lucci and Wall Street Jesus. Today we kind of have a lot to cover. Let's take a look at the S&P today. We gapped up in the morning. Remember, we had the X dividend, so we went SPY X divvy, and we gapped up anyway. And, most of the tech names and everything off the open here were pretty strong. Micron had a 3-point gap up. Was it 3 points or was it? I think it was like 2, and then she ripped a point probably or something like that.
Yep.
And Amazon 10-point gap up. I think it was up 20 points even at some point today. Google was looking really good, and everything was looking real hot off the open. And remember, these things have run quite a bit. Apple actually was. They were kind of still coming into this name and relatively strong, more or less, despite the rest of the market. But finally, they kind of took it to them. So if we go back and take a look at that Micron here. So Micron, again, I've been waiting for a short. I've been waiting to pull off a short on this thing. And Jesus, you see the first hour right there, that chop right there?
Yep.
So after the first pullback from the highs, I was like, okay, let me get heavy in this shit right now, right? So I get heavy with, not that heavy, probably like 300 contracts, right? But I'm in the 62.5 put, and I think maybe the 61.5 put, and that shit was trading like $1.50, so real high. It was already expensive as shit. And then through that little melt up, the option went from maybe like 180 to like 140 or 130,
Right
and it
here,
just
right
crushed.
here.
Yeah, right there. And I got all this size, right? And I'm sized up basically at the highs right there. And I'm just like, maybe this is not the right time. I don't know. Like, what the hell is going on here? Then you get that sweep, right? So I took my loss. I booked my loss, right? And then you get that sweep down that took it down to like 62.25, like back down to lows or whatever. And then during that little chop, right before the next sweep down, I started to pick up a lot of size. So right there, I started to pick up the same amount of size. I should have got super heavy, but I fucking hesitated, bro. I hesitated, bro. I hesitated. So I had the 60 weekly from 50 cents. That shit went to $1.50. And the 61.5 weekly went from like $1.50 to fucking $3 or something like that on just that move down. And guys, there was plenty of moves even after the squeezes, like 50-cent squeezes. You see how monstrous some of the squeezes were in Micron today. And to short after, the reshorts were even better. They were even better. So this thing paid out all day, and you could get size in this thing. Like, Jesus, this is a name that it's almost like a Bank of America, but it moves so much more. So you can legit get 1,000 contracts in this fucking thing, and nobody would bat an eye. Nobody would bet on it.
Liquid as the sea, right?
It was so liquid, man. I mean, some of the spreads though were a little dangerous. So when the stock was tanking, you really had to pay up for it. And you weren't getting those penny spreads or 2 cent spreads or 3 cent spreads or whatever. So that was kind of the dangerous part. But as long as it's moving, fuck it. I'm paying market all day. Like, I don't give a shit. Just get me in the damn thing. If it's moving, just get me in the damn thing.
Yep. And Lucci's been eyeing this because, as you guys know, you're probably saying, well, why Lucci's eyeing Micron out of all names? This thing, we've been talking about this how many webinars now? I think this is like 3 or 4 webinars.
It's the washout at $40. Yep.
Yeah. And we were talking about this candle, the missiles coming in, and nonstop activity. And this is just insanity. This is insanity here. You know what I mean? This is just pure insanity. And eventually, and that's what Lucci's waiting for, eventually this thing is going to show some exhaustion. And Micron finished green on the day, believe it or not.
It finished green. Believe it or not, right? It finished green.
Yeah. So, but just from being up so much, and that goes to show you the opportunity that was there, right, Luch? Yeah, and sometimes you get a little luckier at times. Like you said, you'll ride something out throughout the whole day. You have like a Netflix that will go from up 7 to down 10, if stick run like that. But yeah, and we'll talk about, this is exactly what we were seeing today in the market. I mean, it was just profit taking from an absurd move that just got out of control in Techland.
Right. And you're going to have these. And one of the other things that I need to start doing, a little bit better just on my own kind of self-growth, and one thing that I was able to do early on and when I was a little younger in my trading it's almost too much to handle. It's like when the whole market moves together as a whole, and when you have a whole sector kind of rotation and they're just selling all those names in those sectors, then it becomes easy because once you tape read on one name, it's more or less the same on everything else. So if you look at the Google, if you look at the price line, if you look at the Amazon and all that, those are going to be shorts too. And the Qs are going to be shorts too. And you can literally just make a basket there. And as long as you have the conviction in the direction and your timing, you can get a little basket going. And you don't really have to pay that much attention, as much so as you would each individual trade.
Yep. And you know what else I realized? And you would agree with this 100%. Also, when they're moving together with the market, you could almost feel it happening. Then you start to see the call activity start to turn into put sweepers, and the names, the opportunity becomes now the names that have been holding up and didn't crack yet. I'll give you an example. Apple
was great after the
holding up, right? And then all of a sudden we start seeing put sweepers come in. And then you start to see this thing roll over. Another name, WYNN, which was a rocket.
You got to show that size. You got to show that size. Show that shit that we saw, guys. I mean, this is this is where we're able to use the flow to give us certain situations and certain names that everything just kind of lines up together. These are the things that I sit there and wait for. And when we see something like this guy came in the afternoon and he bought this shit. He bought 192.5 puts. I think there was some size at 190s too that you also flagged, Jesus. I think they paid about 280 for it. Yep. So this guy right here pays 280 for this thing. The stock was trading like 188.5, right? So it was like a 1.5 in the money at that point, And then look at this thing. They just beat the living shit out of this thing. And those options doubled. In reality, the fade towards the afternoon was as good, if not better, than the fade off the open. So oftentimes you'll see a nice clean move off the open. You'll see a bunch of chop consolidation. They'll try to squeeze people out of things. And then you'll see another really nice move, towards the close. Pull up that Micron towards the close just for the day. So you can see they squeezed everybody points. Those puts went back to where you bought them from. And then you go for round two. But the only reason you're getting round two is because the indexes want lower and they're continuing to push lower.
Exactly. You have the indexes, you have the flow, you have all of a sudden everything, just the same thing that happens on the call side. The sweet spots there where you go from selling weakness, all of a sudden call buying coming in, and they start hitting up everything and the indices start to move. It's the same thing. And again, the toughest part, guys, you're probably looking at this win order and saying, like, why would you take action off of this as opposed to any other win put buy? It's for the reasons Lucci just mentioned. They start hitting name to name to name. You start to see the indices get weaker. And, instead of the call sweeper activity we've been seeing, all of a sudden you see something that stands out, looks a little bit different. Yeah. And that's what gives you the confidence to look to take
exactly. What we're talking about is edge. Like, what is your edge? It's not enough to just see the flow in any type of market. Like, everybody's making bets all day, every day in the stock market. Okay, but when you tie it in with other studies, when you tie it in with what the market is doing, when you tie it in with where the market has come from, then you start to get a clean picture of what the hell is really going on. I mean, the index has even, had a huge move. You had a monstrous move, up to 280 here from the squeeze down to what was it, like 267 on the SPY, and then we just kind of come right back. I mean, look at that. That shit is disgusting.
Back to new highs, like nothing ever happened.
Disgusting, right there. We got people asking, why was the market so bearish today? Jesus, do you want to start slapping people, or
I mean, we just led off with the reason here. Again, guys, if a market does this for another 2 weeks, you're going to have Dow 80,000 in a month. Even in the most bullish environment, you're going to have profit-taking days. You're going to have sell-offs. And the market, you know what it is, Luch? Last year, I'm telling you, it ruined a lot of traders out there. And we're going to start seeing more of this, no doubt, right? We're going to start seeing more of this. You can see more of these type of pulls, and they're not going to know what to do with themselves. I mean, last year was an aberration, guys. Markets just don't go up like that. They just don't do it, So, again, I didn't see anything out of everything we're talking about on the bear side right now. Nothing really stood out to me saying, oh, boy, we're looking for a crash here. It just they decided to take profit today. That's the single reason from what I see and the stuff I look at today. They decided to take profit. Just like here, they started to take profit. What it leads to, we'll look at the information we have at that point, and we'll try to try to evaluate.
Right. And again, like one, for some reason, and again, like you look at stocks like Microsoft, you look at all this kind of stuff, and people all of a sudden are like, oh my God, well, is it going to go back? Is it going to go back? Is it going to go back to highs? You already know that people are pigeonholed or their prices are pigeonholed to those all-time highs. So if they don't continue getting those all-time highs, they lose money, especially in the option space too. So if you're stuck coming in late to the party on a name like a Micron or a name like a Microsoft or whatever the hell it is you're trading out there, you're not going to get that premium back because, number one, you either didn't buy enough time or where you decided to buy was right where we decided to pull back and have a nice shave here. So, you really have to move quickly. Even when you're day trading, like, for some of the day traders here, there was so many great scalps today. Unbelievable for you to these are one of those days where you just keep trading. You stay at your desk, you don't have fucking lunch, and you just keep fucking trading. Because even if you're down, you'll grind that shit out and make it back. These are the days here that we live for. This day today, I mean, I'll probably by tomorrow I'll fucking forget. I'll forget. Both me and Jesus will forget. We'll be like, yeah, whatever.
But we were talking, Luch. We were talking for those of us like myself, who primarily play on the long side, even if you're swing trading. The last couple of webinars we did, we were talking about the sweet spot on a long trade there, right?
Yes.
We were talking about that. And
that's going to come again. That's going to come again.
Exactly. And the reason why you sense the excitement in the dark voice of Lucci over there is because this is what he was waiting for. You know what I mean? This is what he knew was going to come at some point in time. The market was going to catch people who were just chasing, thinking there'll never be a down day again. And he wanted to be ready and make sure he makes a dent. And just like we said on the long side, you ask him, he feels like he didn't make enough of a dent and take advantage of that opportunity. And that's how you feel at these sweet spots. So, indeed. I mean, and listen, before we go on, Luch, because I know we're going to end up getting into it again,
Sure.
he's asking, somebody asked you, why was the market down today? Why why did the market do this? I mean, they blamed it on the VIX products. Then they blamed it on the tariffs. Then they blamed it on Cohn resigning, whatever the fuck his name is. Right? They had a different excuse every day. And then what happened to those excuses? They poof in the wind, gone. New highs. You know what I mean?
In the wind. Yeah. So actually, this is a great segue here. This is a great segue here onto what names or to, you know, what names we would think about, you know, if we're planning that similar type of move. You know, what names are we thinking about rotating to? Are we talking about staying in the text? Did we see any interesting flow, any relative strength? I thought the banks here held up pretty. I thought the banks held up okay. You know, I didn't think they sold off that much, like names like Goldman Sachs and Bank of America. Goldman Sachs has been really volatile, like crazy range as of late, and Bank of America here is basically at highs. Like these things are at highs. Goldman loves to pull back like a lot more. You know, so these things are kind of holding pretty well. So the question is off that gap. You remember the gap from the jobs number. So go back to the SPY chart there.
Okay.
So guys, we closed at maybe 273. You know, this was like a couple of sessions ago, and then we gapped up from the jobs number, and then we just fucking went. We just went straight to 280, and then everybody was talking about, okay, that's it. We're going to all-time highs. Now, it is possible they retest that gap. It is possible. You know what I mean? These things are possible. And if you're not ready for another 30-handle drop or a washout again, like, you know, that shit's really going to hurt you. It really is going to hurt you. So we are in that kind of environment where SPY and ES can move pretty aggressively. Wouldn't you agree, Jesus?
Yeah, of course. No doubt. I think we're going to see, here's the thing. And we were talking about this on the Saturday Sweep Series webinar because we were in that position. What happens is you have to try to avoid chasing if you're a swing trader. Okay, this is not a melt-up mode that we were in last year. You have to look to take profits as an active trader. You can't get stupid, can't get greedy, and you have to be patient enough to wait and let shit set up again. Okay, and we were at that point into this day. Okay, everything we were looking at in the steam room as far as sentiment was concerned was on fire, Lucci. You couldn't touch it. Everything was so bullish, it was scary. Okay, and like I got to put the call up here. Okay, so here's where let me go to like an hourly so here was the spike creating the bullish opportunity, right? More put buying, and then just look completely washed out to the point where it was flashing cautionary signals on the other end. Shit was too bullish. Traders were positioned too bullish now. Okay, so you got to try to avoid getting wrapped up in that mess as a swing trader and sit and wait patiently. And what happens is, okay, the market doesn't stop on a dime because you want to sit in cash for that day. It will continue to go higher, continue to grind higher, and make you feel like you're missing out, right? What do they call that? That FOMO. Okay, FOMO, you have to have the discipline to sit there and wait and allow things to set up again and be ready to fire when they do. And that's the type of, I think, market we're in right now as, as a swing trader, as a short-term trader, if you're on the bullish side, I just set up the bullish, side of things for you. On the bearish side, I think the same thing. You got to be careful to not short in the hole, right? Short off 3 days of weakness when everyone's all bared up. If you're looking for a short, you got to start looking when it's the toughest time to do it. Like this morning, and Lucci started doing this, yesterday, right? You were putting feelers in. That sentiment got extremely bullish. Lucci was already in that mode. You know what I mean? I
was already there testing out, like, okay, what can I get off? What can I pull off here? What can I pull off here? You know what else I do, Jesus? I start selling the calls. So if I get a little bearish, I'll test with selling the calls. That way I know I'm not going to get smoked. I'll sell that shit first, and I'll be like, okay, how are these premiums really moving here? Are they still reacting aggressively to every single tick? And then all of a sudden, like you'll see the shit just start to fade. Like Amazon traded up to the highs several times during the day today, or I guess I should say the morning. And then even after the first initial drop, it came back to like fucking 1602 or something like that. It had a huge squeeze, midday or whatever. And when it had that squeeze, like none of the calls that were far out of the money were just getting priced back up. None of them. So that was like another sign for me. It's like, all right, time to lay into this stuff. More signs, more confidence here. For me to start moving.
I like that. We were talking about that last week. I like that you do that, because especially on the short side, and Lucci will tell you guys, and that's why I tell a lot of new traders to not even bother, because it's a lot more difficult, guys. It's a lot more difficult. Even when you're right, okay, you still know what the hell you're doing. Like Lucci mentioned, think about the squeezes you got to sit through. You think that's easy?
Yo, and when they act on the options, like when you're in the put and you're seeing a squeeze like that, it doesn't look like a natural pullback on a call. It doesn't look like it. It looks a lot more aggressive. You're seeing a 30% dump, a 20% dump, sometimes even a 40% pullback on your option. Wow. And you don't know what your timing has to be great. Either that, or you have to not care about the money that you're throwing into that put, and you're just kind of just sitting there holding those things. But on that side, shorting, just like Jesus said, it's a lot different. The game is a lot different. You have to have a different mentality for it. You got to have a different skill set for it if you want to do it aggressively intraday type stuff. Obviously, it gets easy when the market is just kind of tanking and SPY is tanking, and you just kind of have to pick a name and just fucking hop in the shit and get the fuck out, if you're just doing a quick scalp. But to time this shit and to get it before, and to get the right price before it all starts happening, like those Micron puts were nothing. The out of the money Micron puts were 50 cents, 40 cents. That's the $60 put, like off the open. And they ran to friggin' two and a half by the close. So but in the middle of it all, there was monster squeezes that took those puts down, 50%, 70% here, that you have to be ready to buy if you see the sellers start coming back into that tape. So again, it's a much different game. It is a much different game.
Yeah, and another thing I've since I've been in the room with you, I notice a lot, like you're never shorting in the hole. Like, you know what I mean? You're looking, and even when you mention you want to get short something, you're telling people, listen, I'm looking for a bounce here, and I'm looking to short these rallies.
And then I'm looking to add on the short, because I know I'm going to get it. I know I'm going to get a cheaper price. If you short anything that's already going down, you're going to get a cheaper price because you're going to see a bounce. Most people aren't ready for that shit, and they don't know how to react off of it. So they get a little panicky, they get a little scared. And that's why on the way down, you see these monster short squeezes where everybody just gets panicky, everybody just gets scared, they run and take their profits, and that's why you see these huge short squeezes, and that are much different than on the call side. I mean, on the call side, we generally just go straight up. You can buy a dip nice and clean.
You can get away with it, yeah.
And the shit'll go right back to highs. You know what I mean? You can get away with it, and it's a lot easier to manage emotionally. Okay, emotionally, from the behaviors perspective, than it is on the short side.
Unless, 100%. And listen, if we go into a full-fledged bear market, Luch, it gets a little easier.
It gets a little easier.
Exactly.
Indeed.
So that's why the call side is easier, because you're in a bull market. But the moral of the story here, guys, before we start getting into the other things, the name of the game now in this market and what we're seeing so far this year is you have to be patient and wait for your setup. And when that sweet spot's there and the signals are there that you're relying on, be ready to fire and have the discipline to stay away when things are telling you to stay away. I think we're in that type of market. I don't think you're going to be able to get away with what you got away with last year. And you're going to learn that the hard way if you don't do it yourself.
Indeed. All right, moving forward here, let's toss out some free trades here for you guys. Honestly, if the market is able to stay flat and we just kind of consolidate down here, there's some great sell call trades. Okay, I would write a lot of call spreads on some of the high beta names, like an Amazon, like an SPX, like a Booking, like all these names here. You can go 50 points out of the money here, and you can still get solid premium here, and just book it and literally just book it. So you can go to 1650 or 1660 on the top side here for Amazon. So that's literally 50, 60 points out of the money. You can still get $1 for some of these options. Obviously, you got to make a vertical here, buy something that's further out of the money. So, your profits here are going to come down a little bit. But again, it's a great way to scrape some premium if you don't want to trade the actual name. So free trades here for you guys. Sell some call spreads here. if the market is able to just kind of consolidate. If we just shoot right back to 280, which is again just another possibility too, then there's going to be the dip buy trades. And what do you want to dip buy? Me personally, I like the Apple, and I like some of the banks too to dip buy as well. I think some interesting names that we saw today was AMD, man. AMD. Let's just talk about this AMD real quick. First of all, how many of you guys have seen a $0 price target put on a stock ever? How many of you guys have actually seen that? I've never seen that in my entire life. I've never seen an analyst put a $0 fucking price target on something. Maybe GoPro or like a Fitbit. Maybe I don't know if we saw one on those two. Maybe we did. Maybe we not. But I've never seen that. Jesus, have you seen that before?
Honestly, not, maybe some guy who comes out on a biotech with no revenue, no earning. I mean, AMD, you're talking about what, New York Stock Exchange, legit name, right? And legit. I thought it was almost a joke. And you know what's funny about it? Like, it had to spook people, and you had that instant drop, and then they ripped it, Luch. They ripped it. So it goes to show you, but crazy action in this name on both sides. First of all, I think the implied volatility cooled down finally today. It was at ridiculous levels. You can't, honestly, AMD in my eyes over the last week is a no touch no matter what side you like. Right. You're going to get robbed on the call side especially. We're seeing size put buying, some of it tied to stock. I have no idea. It almost looks like they're reporting earnings. That's what the flow looks like, but they're not. So I don't know what the hell's going on there.
So the news actually on it was the security flaws in the new processors. So the Ryzen processors and all this kind of stuff. And they're saying that they're going to have to declare bankruptcy here because the security flaws of that are dangerous here on an international level and fatal to AMD on a commercial level. And they said it's worth zero, and we'll have no choice but to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in order to.
Who was this though? Who's the analyst?
CTS Labs. This was a cybersecurity research firm. There's some people that are also investigating like the actual piece that came out, and it's like, who is CTS? Why do they post this thing and all this kind of stuff? So I don't know, man. I don't know. That shit is hilarious though to me. We got a couple comments here coming on the WYNN. We already did the WYNN. We did the WYNN already. And then what else we got? We had the MOS in the morning there, Jesus, right?
Yeah, Mosaic has been a name that has seen bullish activity, a little pickup in bullish activity. Some June call buying, interesting June call buying a couple of days ago. Today, right off the open, a couple of us day trade scalp out of it. I played the equity. I think a couple guys might have had the calls. But you had a little bit of action, nothing crazy, but a little bit of sweeper activity come in. It was early. It stood out. We got in, got a nice little rip out of it. And then, like a lot of other things, faded at the end of the day. But as a whole, Mosaic and the other, let me say, I keep forgetting the symbol, NTR. You know what this is, Luch?
Is that another, I don't know what this
is. Remember Potash?
Yeah, of course.
This is Potash.
Oh, shit, it changed the name or whatever?
They merged with Agrium, AGU, I think.
Oh, and this was the baby. Yeah. All right.
So this thing has seen a little uptick in activity. Initial activity was down here, but we've seen some flow come out. So the two names, the ag names, have seen some bullish flow. And Mosaics are a little more today.
Indeed. Can we take a look at this IWM order that hit yesterday?
There was a couple of big ones. Yeah.
Can we take a look at the size on this? And I mean, again, like oftentimes we'll see a lot of size too on the IWM that'll come out. We don't exactly know what the intent, behind some of this stuff is. I guess we got our boy Tim here talking about May 157. I think maybe you right there, May 157, and it's looking like two orders here and that could be a hedge. It could be a hedge. It could be, I don't know. And remember, IWM is huge. This thing trades $1 trillion in a day type shit. So who knows what the intent here behind that particular order is, but that is some serious protection. Did we see any other protection bets or anything on the SPY today that would get us, that would get anybody, a little panicky here on a big drop?
Here's the thing, okay? And I mentioned this too. Me and Tim were talking about this yesterday and today. We've been seeing some like the SMH, the semiconductor ETF, seeing some put buying. The Qs seeing some put buying. IWM started yesterday into today. But this is the type of shit when you see these type of moves, right? Like that put buyer, I think would have looked good no matter what. Just because after 8 straight days of upside, even if the went up again, you know what I mean? There's going to be a day like this, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
I mean, if you're looking to protect, right? Let's say you long out the ears all these names that have gone insane, and you don't really necessarily want to liquidate them. You want to hold on to them, but you're too long. And after a move like this, you want to put on some protection. This is what you do, guys.
Holy shit, this WDC is crazy, bro. I didn't even look at this thing.
Insanity, Luch. Insane. That's what I'm saying. When people say, why are we down? Insanity. Like, this is insanity. You know?
I love it. I love it. I got more shit to short.
But yeah, so there's a lot of names like this. The semis have been on fire. So then we see some SMH, which is the semi ETF, get some put buying today. Listen, people want the cautionary flag to go up ahead of time. We all want that. But on the put side, it's tough, man. It's more of a thing that ends up developing. Tops are like a process. So in other words, if we start to see put sweepers start to grab the ball from this point, and that lack of call buying, as we mentioned, because here's the thing that I was concerned about, that we were talking about with members for a couple of days now, the lack of any quality buying in anything new. You know what I mean?
True. No rotations. No big solid rotations. No doubt.
We're buying Micron every freaking day. They're buying WDC every. You know what I mean? So what happens is after a while, these names get exhausted, and if they're not moving money into anything else, you're gonna have the market roll over when they decide to take some profits. True. So we have to wait and see in coming days what the flow looks like. If they come, let's say for example, tomorrow we gap up a little bit, and all of a sudden put sweepers come into that green, and we see them, get aggressive on the put side. Then there could be some signs that the flow's starting to turn a bit, and the market could be weak, and we could look for some weakness. But it's too quick to judge yet.
Indeed. All right, so the SPY again, I mean, we're at 277 here on the SPY. Any downside, I would say, through 275, like you run the risk of closing that gap that we had from 274, in which case, we could have another day similar to today, where you see an Amazon or a price line down another 20 points, which is not out of the question. Price line moved up 200 fucking points.
I know.
200 points from the damn low. Like, it's not crazy. That this thing come back another 20 points or whatever. The short is obviously not going to be that easy, just like it never is. Now, on the flip side here, if we just shoot right back to 278 on SPY, I think everybody will be very comfortable, continuing to buy dips in names that they already like. So some of the banks here in Apple, I think, is where I'm going to sit. But if we get this volatility, and we get a nice buy range tomorrow, I mean, it's another score for the day traders, man. The day traders unite, man. Scalp traders out here, this is our market. This is our market. If you guys scalp, and if you guys are day traders, and if you guys don't get attached to a certain bias, or you're not, you're not pegged, to a certain direction, this is your market, man. Wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. If you guys aren't awake already, like, this is the time. This is the time. Put a little bit of size on, because you're gonna get some momentum behind the shit. This is the time for you guys to shine.
Yeah, even if you're just an active trader out there, all kidding aside, even you don't have to be a day trader. You can be, a trader. You're looking like here's what I think the game plan is now until we find a resolution here. What I think on the long side, okay, if we don't see rotation start to take place, if we don't see sweepers start to give attention to some other sectors, other names out there, and get aggressive, I think the only play on the long side for any short-term overnight play is to look for sweeper activity into weakness. So let's say hypothetically tomorrow we gap down again tomorrow. You see Microsoft, which caught a decent amount of flow, any name that caught a decent amount of flow, you see them start to come into something like that or some weakness. You got that snapback trade. Okay.
Yes.
In other words, down to, goes green type thing. If you're looking for this move again, you know what I mean, to happen straight from tomorrow, you're going to get caught, and if you're not that active trader, I think you have to still wait it out and allow something at the least like this to set up. You know what I mean? At least something like this. Let's say we chop around, get a couple of days of weakness. We got some news out there, and sentiment gets that, that much stronger on the bearish side to set up a squeeze like that where you can look for a bigger move. But right now, like Lucci hit the nail on the head. I think active. You got to be an active trader here. Don't chase. I'm talking about the long side. Don't chase. Look to buy weakness. Look for rotation, preferably. On the short side, just the opposite, right? You're not looking to short in the hole. Wait for rallies. You don't see any call buying out there. You see put sweepers getting aggressive. That would be your cue. So I think both sides, like you said, Lucci, both sides have something to look at and wait for certain setups out there.
And there's also there's always the possibility that we just chop up and all that fat premium goes to waste. And there's strategies for that too, guys. There's strategies for those too. But most importantly here, like Jesus said, just wait here for the market to give you the signs on direction, on momentum. But there's plenty of trades here to mess around with. Anything else you want to throw out there for these guys? I think Micron here, you guys are talking about next week. It has earnings. Jordan here is talking about Avgo. I think it has earnings this week. This thing has been a name that a lot of people have been trading. Anybody have any questions? Any questions at all? Any names you guys want us to take a look at whatsoever? We'll take a couple here before we head out. But that Avgo here is obviously, this thing is very volatile. This thing is very volatile too.
Well, I had some buyout news. Qualcomm was supposed to buy them out. Then Intel rumored to buy them out. Then Trump blocked the deal.
Trump blocked the deal this morning. Trump blocked the deal this morning. That's right.
So that's why you got some craziness here.
Wasn't Broadcom out on a rumor that they were going to buy AMD too? The same time that this thing got a $0 price target.
There's been a ton of rumors in this. Just the group as a whole. You had AMD catching chatter. Just a ton of names catching chatter in this group, and that's why these things have been so hot of late. Crazy moves, Luch. This whole
crazy,
group,
man, crazy. Look at
WDC and 150s to 235 from the lows.
Oh my God,
ridiculous,
insane, man. Insane. Some guys here are talking about SRPT. Is that another semi? I don't even know what that is.
No, that's a biotech. Actually, let me tell you, this is one name, and we joke about this, but it's been the case. Anytime they hit this thing, anytime sweepers hit this thing, it's close to a lock as you can get for a short-term trade.
Like that, dude? Like that?
Oh, bro. You don't understand.
Are we at the horse track right now, son? SRPT comes to the gate. That's it. Instant bet.
You have no idea. They first of all, they've been sweeping this thing on pullbacks, on dips forever now. And you could ask anybody who trades it off sweeper activity. They came in here, I think it was right around here, and a couple decent looking sweepers. And I'm like, oh my God, this thing's at highs. It's been on, but it's SRPT, and we were saying that for at some point in time of the next week, you're going to be able to sell this thing for a profit when sweepers hit this thing. And then boom, it catches like 5 upgrades. I don't know what the hell the news was. But this thing's red hot. Oh, a biotech today, guys, that I know you guys like to trade. INCY caught some decent action today. You had a decent looking sweeper, front run, a bigger block. I got it up here. Hold on. Let's see. It was late in the day here. I day traded it. Right here.
There you go.
April 110s. So when the stock was 94, you got almost 600 grand there. The sweeper prior to that was about 300 grand to 300 grand. Decent action. Here's the scoop from what I'm told. April, I think mid-April, you got a catalyst there. There's some data or something coming out. So the way to play it, first of all, biotechs, forget about stop losses in your options. Put in what you're willing to lose, and that's the risk reward is good for that type of trade. Well, the trade there would be to buy it here and play for that run up into that data. You understand? Into that April event. And then if you get a tradable move, you can leave a runner. Hope you get lucky. God knows if you get lucky where this thing could end up. All right.
Indeed.
But a name, again, doesn't catch a lot of activity and some decent activity worth a look today. One of the few things today that caught some activity worth a look, to be dead honest.
Yeah, some of the biotechs you do got to be careful, just like what Jesus was saying.
Yeah.
Like some of the options here, you're not going to get a lot of liquidity on the options too. The spreads are going to be fucking wild, you know, and it gets a little dangerous. So that's why Jesus was saying, like, if you're going to play this shit and it's like a low liquid name that not everybody trades, like SRPT, like everybody freaking trades it. You know, and some of the other bios, like everybody trades it. If you're in a bio ETF too, everybody trades those things. But if you're in a one-off name here that's like, you know, and it doesn't have weekly options, that's the first sign. If you look at an option chain on a stock and it doesn't have weekly options, chances are it's illiquid as fuck, and you know you got to be easy on it. Jesus, we got a question here for you. Is the Wise Guy board different to the private Twitter stream? I was going to answer this, but
no, same exact thing. Everything that hits the Wise Guy tote board here goes right to private Twitter.
But there are pieces in some flow that you'll throw out in the chat room that you won't throw out in the Twitter feed.
Oh no, I throw them to private Twitter too.
You throw them to private Twitter feed too.
Yeah,
okay.
Initially, maybe that's why they're asking. A while ago, I used to not do that, but what happened? Yes. A lot of Steam Room members who are in the room regularly, they were asking me to do it to private Twitter because if they're on the road or something like that, they can access Twitter. So, you know, Twitter comes in handy for that, especially.
Definitely.
All the action's the same. Obviously, the commentary's not there, audio, video, that stuff.
Right. That's what you get in the room, by the way. I mean, if you guys are trying to figure out between the room or just the Twitter feed, if you don't need the quote unquote noise per se, you know, but some of the commentary that I'm in there trading aggressively every single day. So on a day like today, you know, myself and a couple of other guys are very, very, very active. And then Jesus is on the audio all day, you know, talking back and forth with us too as well. So sometimes it helps if you hear him on the audio, you know, versus otherwise.
Yeah, and we got traders. I mean, basically, you get a feel for how traders are playing the action, right? I mean, if an Apple put sweeper come in and Lucci was looking for puts in Apple and he's telling people what he's going into, what he's playing, I mean, obviously, you're not going to get that on private Twitter. So that's the sizzle of the room here, is that you got traders who are here every day, who trade professionally, trading off the flow in different styles. So, I mean, that's a good thing, especially in this game. If you're looking to develop a certain style, right? You haven't had success. I mean, you could get some ideas. So, that's the perk.
Indeed. All right, closing up here. If there's no more questions, I would say my best trades for tomorrow is I'm definitely going to be writing both sides of the trade on Amazon, and you know, names like Priceline.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say we squeeze tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. See, it's tough. If we open up down, I think it's a tough short into red.
I would agree.
You have that squeeze possibility. That squeezeometer, a lot of you guys know, we were in the red zone, hot zone, meaning too many bulls. We're close to getting a bullish signal there. So if we have some weakness tomorrow, we can see a squeeze. But if we see a little rally and we see the flow start to show some puts, are you still looking? I mean, Lucci, these names, did they come in? Micron was flat.
They didn't really come in. Yeah, they didn't. To me, they didn't. But they're not going to make it easy. Like, so you're going to get a point. You're going to get a point or 2 point squeezes out of nowhere on these things, and then you'll just get a fade and like a trickle down back to lows type thing. So the tape is going to be a lot more difficult now.
Well, that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
If you get that rally and you see the buyers dry up and start to roll over, you got to play
100%. 100%. I'm going right to Micron. 100%. I'm going right to Micron, and I'm buying a fucking 500 lot, and I'm buying some puts. Absolutely. And Micron is thick enough that even if you get 50 cents on a Wednesday in Micron, you're still going to make 20 cents on the option. So if I can do that like several times with a 50 lot or a 100 lot, you know, I can rack up 10K on the day. You know, so it's going to be a great. Yeah.
That's why he's excited, guys. With the mic, he can size up in this thing. That's what's really Right. That's why he's attracted to this micron.
That's it.
You know, yeah.
That's it. I mean, I'm not looking. It's great if I can pull a double out of the thing and the thing tanks. But the fact is, if the market doesn't give us that kind of environment where everybody's just panic selling something, which I highly doubt it will, because even if you looked at the Amazon or the Google towards the end of the day, those things trickled down. Nobody was like selling market orders in those things. It was just there was no buyers out there. So if you look at the day chart after 2 o'clock on Google here, you'll just see it melt. It just melts.
Yeah, like a
That's all
drift.
it is.
Yeah.
It's just melt, you know. It ain't.
That's what I think. That's what I saw today. Exactly what you just said. It was more of a buyer strike, like buyers had enough, and some profit taking out there. It wasn't that short. You know what I mean? That type of thing. It was profit.
So yeah, exactly. So if I get a melt up on any one of these names, immediately what I'm going to do is start selling the calls first, and then you know, if I start liking how SPY is looking at that time, you know, I'll lay into some freaking size here and try to take, you know, and just try to scalp the shit out of these things. That's it. That's it. That's it. All right, guys. Take care, everybody. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Thursday webinars are for members only, right, Jesus?
Yeah, Thursdays are members only, and now the Saturday one we're going to do once a month, open to everybody. Weekly one for members. So we'll start once a month now for everybody.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right, guys. Stay tuned here. Watch your emails too. We're going to be sending you a lot of emails too. Some promos that we have coming up too. Guys who are already subscribers, we're going to give you guys some benefits here. So yeah, stay tuned, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Good luck out there, everybody. Have a good night.